Hello and welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to show you how to store dahlias over winter. So now we're well into November and many of us in the northern part of the country will be thinking what to do with our dahlias. We need to dig them up because the weather over winter is far too cold and also probably far too wet. In southern parts of the country, I know a lot of people do leave the dahlias in the ground where they've been grown, and that's okay because in milder parts of the country that's perfectly fine. But what they do in that sense is they give them a very deep mulch of some organic matter or something to give them some insulation over the winter, and that just helps keep the beautiful tubers nice and cozy during the cold snaps. But that is only for milder areas in the country. That's not advisable in the cooler parts of the country. So as you get up to the north, and obviously definitely into Scotland, it's going to be far too cold, far too wet, and we need to be thinking of lifting these plants and preparing them for storage over the winter. So I've taken this out of one of our big containers that we had growing during the summer, and this is a lovely plant. This is a lovely dahlia with lovely bright orange flowers. But what we tend to do with dahlias is we wait until the frost gets them and they turn a little bit blackened, and as you can see from this one, it has gone a little bit black and a little bit soggy looking on the leaves. So it's now time to be lifting them and preparing them for storage. So we have a massive root run, as you can see, and what we'll be doing is first of all trying to uncover where the tuber is and taking away all of this compost. So I'm just literally just using my hands, just rubbing the compost, because what I want to do is reveal the tubers which are growing within inside it. Take away all this top growth. And now, as you can see, we're starting to reveal where the tubers are. So you want to take off as much as possible because that'll make the next step a little bit easier. So you can now start to see the tubers a bit more clearer. Really good shake. You can see all that lovely root, and just carefully, just using your hands, just try and just tease out as much compost from around the tubers as possible without actually damaging the tubers themselves. It's a bit like uncovering lots and lots of potatoes that you've grown when you do this process. These are actually the tubers. What we want to be doing with the top is just cutting that just a couple of inches. Put that there, just so you do have some kind of stump. Now this is mainly growing just from the one position, but on some dahlias you may have ones where you've got multiple stems. So just cut the stems back to a couple of inches from where you can see they're actually coming from. Okay, so the next step is we need to thoroughly get rid of all of this compost, and the easiest way to do that is actually wash the tubers in water. So for this I have a bucket of water. This I've found is the easiest way of doing it, and what you need to do is just basically dunk the whole of the tuber into the bucket. Now for this you may want to take your gloves off if you're wearing gloves, because they're just going to get completely soggy. So remove gloves. It's a bit of a dirty job, but you need to go in there with your hands and just now loosen any more remaining compost from around these. Like I say, just be careful not to disturb the tubers. And you can start to see now a bit better. So it does take a little bit of patience, this part. And what we can also do while we're here is just take off some of these roots as well. So just make it a bit easier for us to clean. Give them another dunk. It's probably impossible to get every single bit off at this stage, but just try and get as much as you possibly can. Oh, see, I've just basically taken one off by accident, so that's how fragile they can be, so just be careful. And then what you want to do, when you've got as much as you possibly can get off them, what you want to do is put them somewhere where you can just stand them upside down so they can drain and allow any moisture to come out of the stems as well. So leave them somewhere just to dry, and you'll find that when you come back to them, the compost around the roots that's still there is a lot easier to get off. And if you have something like a small paintbrush or something, you can just literally just wand it round in between and just dislodge any further compost that may be there. And when it's dry, it's a lot easier to do. So give it at least 24 to 48 hours drying like that. Then the next stage is literally the storage bit. So let me get rid of this bucket. So if you have something like a crate, sometimes you can get these from garden centres that are just free to take for storing your plants you bought. And if you have some newspaper, I know newspapers these days are very scarce because no one really reads the news in the same way we used to years ago. Just a few sheets of newspaper. Remember, this is all dry now and more cleaner. A few sheets of newspaper in the bottom of the tray. And what we want to be doing is, with a bit more newspaper, just literally wrapping up the tubers. Just like that. And place them in the box, just like that. Now if you've not got a crate, you can use things like an old cardboard box, a shoe box. This was something that I had delivered through online shopping, so I've obviously kept it for use of another tuber we might be able to use. And also it came with some packing paper. If you shop at Amazon, you'll know that you get tons and tons of this type of paper. So if you're short of newspaper and you can't get hold of that, use just something like that, and you can quite easily wrap the tuber using the paper from old packaging. So literally place like that, and the important thing now is that where you store it, and you need to be storing it somewhere that's frost free. These tubers are very temperamental to having too much wet and too much cold. You don't want to get them frozen, otherwise you will kill them. So we're keeping them dry by putting them under cover, and what we need to be doing is making sure that you don't put anything like plastic bags or anything around them, because that can cause humidity, which can lead them to rot. And just before you're actually wrapping them up, when this is dry, you need to be making sure, just feel each tuber, and if they're nice and solid, then that's fine. If you have any that are a bit squishy and a bit soft, just remove them, because that is going to lead to maybe problems in the future, because that could be infected with something. It could cause the rest of the tuber to become mushy and also infected. So just remove anything that doesn't feel right. It needs to be nice and solid, and then put them somewhere, like I've said, somewhere frost free. So somewhere like a garage, somewhere like a shed is ideal. I've known people before now use their spare bedrooms where they've put them underneath the bed, and they've just left them there until the following spring. And you'll be planting these back out again when the spring comes. We can be starting these off early inside in pots, and then planting them out when the risk of frost has passed, which is usually around May time. So just the key steps again: dig them up, give them a good wash, get all the compost away from them, let them dry, and then they're ready for storage. And storing them in something like newspaper or packing paper is ideal. Just wrap up the roots, just like that, and just store them over winter somewhere frost free. Just make sure over the winter you do check on them a couple of times, just to make sure there's no signs of rot or fungus. If there isn't any signs and it's just affecting the odd one or two tubers, remove them. If it's affecting the whole plant, then it's time to discard it and buy fresh in the spring. So that's all I want to say about how we are saving our tubers for our dahlias over the winter and how we're storing them. I do hope you found it informative, this video, and also enjoyable. It's quite chilly at this time of year, so if you do go outside, make sure you wrap up. And we have a bit of a drizzly day today, so we've been able to time it luckily when the weather's not too rainy, so we can bring the camera out without getting too wet. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you soon on the next video, and if you do have any comments, please drop them in the comments box below. Please, as always, like the videos and also hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and happy gardening.